Yours, please.
Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Sevier.
Present.
Councilmember Fox.
Present.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Mayor Durham.
Present.
All present, there's four.
All right, with the quorum present, I'll call this meeting to order. This is our regular scheduled meeting for October 26, 2017. We'll start with a word of prayer and our pledge of allegiance. Chad, if you'll pray for us. And Jamie, if you'll say the pledge afterwards.
Yes, sir. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for this day and thank you for your blessings. We thank you for life this day. And Father, on this cool, crisp fall morning, we thank you that, Lord, you allow us to live in this community. And I pray this day that everything we do would be for the betterment of this community. We love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, in front of you got two sets of minutes. One set of minutes for our last September meeting and then a set of minutes for our special call meeting that we had in between. And so we'll entertain if there's a motion to approve.
I'd like a motion to approve.
The September
I'll
28th
second it.
minutes. All right, I've got a motion to approve. Any additions, changes, or deletions to be made? If not, if you're in favor of approving those minutes, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And now, gentlemen, looking for a motion to approve the October 13th, 2017 special.
Motion
call
to
meeting
approve.
minutes. Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. If you're in favor of approving the minutes, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. Let's see, I got a couple of announcements this morning. November 10th, the city is going to be closed in observance of Veterans Day. Residential trash pickup will be on Thursday the 9th. So that's different, the day before. So let's see. Gentlemen, by way of announcement, I'd like to announce that I'm going to appoint Justin Holt to the Planning Commission to replace O'Neill Stanford. We appreciate O'Neill's service to the board and his dedication to the spot that we held there.
Absolutely.
I got a special presentation to make today, guys. This is very rarely in life do you get to cross paths with people that you really do care about and really make a difference in your life. And today we're going to be honoring a person just like that. This person that we want to honor today has worked for 32 years for the city of Lawrenceburg, and I can say I've been here almost 16 years, and I can say that I see him probably once a week or so, or if not more, and he's always been an encouragement to me. He's somebody that everybody in this room, I believe, would drop what they're doing in a minute's notice to go get him some help, because he's that kind of person. He would drop what he's doing to help any of us for any reason. And like I say, it's very rare that we get the opportunity to honor someone such as Mikey Boyer. Mikey, come up here. And Mikey is retiring from the city of Lawrenceburg. And Mikey, I want to tell you, as mayor, it's been my honor to work with you and just be a small part of your work here. And I really do appreciate it. On behalf of the council and myself, we want to say thank you and want to wish you the best of luck. And I want to read this certificate here. This is from the office of the mayor of the city of Lawrenceburg to certify that Mikey Boyer is hereby presented this retirement award for outstanding performance and faithful service to the board of mayor and council and the citizens of the city of Lawrenceburg through your dedicated service in the Lawrenceburg Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you for over 32 years of service. And you're going to be retiring November 1st, 2017. Yep. Let's all give them.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. There you go. There you go. Y'all doing good. Don't let me take that back now, okay? You keep that back. Okay. Okay. He ain't took you back yet, has he? Okay, all right. Okay, show business is rough, ain't it? Okay, all right, keep on over there, okay. All right.
So Blake,
How about one more? Okay. Y'all were gone.
I looked down the hall there. Okay, thank
Do
you.
you want to say anything?
No,
You don't?
not much, no.
Blake and some of those guys for.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you.
Mikey, we're gonna get some with your friends here.
Oh,
Everybody's your friends. Isn't it amazing that everybody shows
I
up?
appreciate it.
So,
Oh, thank you.
so in case you're wondering,
Hey, thank you there.
Sister's not here today, is she? Sister has been helping out Mikey. Mikey's been taking care of.
Mayor, let me point something out. These guys think so much of Mike. These are Knights of Columbus members and friends of Mike who appreciate him as a person and as a man, and they're proud of his, now that he gets to retire, maybe they can give him some jobs out there.
I'm gonna get y'all come down about one step. Let's go back down. You're fine, Mayor. Come on down here, man.
I went to school with Mike and had to take care of him a few times, didn't I?
Yeah,
But that's all right.
Let's see what we got here right fast. Might have been a lot of smiles there, okay. All right, Michael, one more time here, okay? Okay, how about one more? Y'all are gone.
Okay. Thank you.
y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you.
All right, we have a pretty lengthy agenda today, so we'll go ahead and get started on that. Chris, I'll turn the table over to you for your section of business.
Okay, I'll keep mine as short as I can. We just have a couple of announcements. We have notices to proceed on both the City Hall renovations and the LPRF grant starting November the 1st. The LPRF grant, Pam, I believe, will speak to that in just a moment, but that is going to be a lot of ADA renovations going on in the park. And the City Hall renovations will be where the Lawrenceburg Utility Systems is building out customer service here. So there may be some inconveniences in the next few weeks as we proceed with construction, but we'll try to keep the public notified via the website and announcements if there's going to be any type of closures or anything like that. Also, we are going through police and fire interviews for some positions that have been vacated, so we hope to have those filled here in the next couple of days. And the last announcement I have is our Blue Cross Blue Shield rate has come in. Our insurance rate was an increase of 13.13%. No, it sounds like a lot, but it's really some of the best news we've had in a long time, that it was not any higher than what it is. So all in all, we look at it as good news, and that's all I have this morning.
Yeah. So Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot today, but if we could, what about our Safe Routes to School grant and the grant that's going to be doing our improvements to the square? If we can get an update on those. If you don't today, that's fine.
I can give you a better update next time, but we are moving forward. We've got the notice to proceed with the Safe Route to School Act, our Safe Route to School grant, and we had the engineers down last week looking at the design for the Lawrenceburg Square. Griggs and Maloney had one of their engineers down. We took a look, so we're just trying to do some fine tuning on that so that they can put together a plan for us. But everything is on track, and we're moving forward. They, at this point, still will not give us a, you're going to start construction on X date. They're just not in that position yet.
All right, thank you. No department managers report today?
Yes, Pam's here to go over the LPRF grant just a little bit more.
Hey, Mayor, while Pam's getting set up there, can I say thank you to Judy Hartsfield for putting on a great health fair
Yeah.
for the city employees this past couple of weeks ago?
Absolutely. Very good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just kind of want to briefly touch a few points that's going on with that since the grants finally got approved and we can proceed with this. Of course, I think everybody knows that it's to bring Rotary Park up to code on ADA things for our handicapped people that come into Rotary Park. The grant's a $200,000 grant with a 50-50 match from the city and the state. Like Chris said, in the past couple of days, we got approval from the state to proceed. Brad Slater bid on it, and he got the bid for that project. So between Brad and Public Works, Jerry and his guys, they will start work like immediately on that. A couple things, well, several things that you'll see happening is the track restroom. It will be renovated and brought up to code for handicapped people to be able to use it, because it's the one that's open all the time and the ones that everybody is, uses. The restroom in the Parks and Recreation office will also be renovated and brought up to code. The ramp that leads up to the pool is something that's going to be a big undertaking because it's off grade and it's not, where it's supposed to be. So that will be something. The doors, hardware in all offices, back gym, front gym, our office gym, all that stuff will be new and brought up to code to where it's supposed to be also. There'll be proper signage throughout the park. Right now it's kind of a guess of where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do, so we're going to have proper signage to let everybody know where you're supposed to go. Sidewalks, there'll be more sidewalks added. Right now there's sidewalks behind the grandstands and in front of the grandstand restrooms. That will go over to the pavilion, to the cattle barn, and to the playground. More sidewalks there. Let me see, the food booths that are used during the fair. None of them right now are really accessible. The Lions booth and Rotary's booth the windows will have to be lowered. So that's going to be a big undertaking because that's concrete blocks. The ticket booth at Rotary will have to be lowered also. The other food booths, they'll just have to have an area that will be cut out in some corner so you can actually get a wheelchair up there. We're also going to add handicap picnic tables to all those areas and to the shelter, at least one. Some renovations, some things that have already happened that is through this grant was the black wrought iron fencing on the east side. It's already in place in 2014-15, and that was part of this grant also. And we have already spent over $10,000 on mulch in the playground. So if somebody comes up in a wheelchair, that they'll be able to maneuver around in this in the correct mulch. So
Madam, can I ask a question?
you can.
Is there a difference between the mulch that was up there and handicap mulch?
There is. Tina can tell you more about that since she's our safety and ADA person who's been to many classes. There's a big difference in it. If you want her to address that, if she's prepared for that.
We can talk about that later.
Okay.
I was just curious.
Okay, but there is. So kind of as you can see, over the next couple months, there's going to be a lot of work at Rotary Park. There'll be at times where we'll have to close some of the buildings and they won't be accessible to people, but we'll be able to, I'm going to try my best to work around bookings that have already been booked, Ronald, and things like that. But we're on a time crunch is the bottom line. We've set the deadline December 22nd to get this done. That's not necessarily the deadline on our grant, but it's our deadline because if the state comes in and says, no, this is not right, we have to give ourselves enough time to get that fixed before the grant does actually end. So that's our deadline, is for December the 22nd. Of course, there's lots of stuff going on up there, Christmas in the country, Spirit of Santa stuff and all that, but between Frank and Darla and myself, we're going to try our best to be able to work around everything that we can to get this done. So we just kind of want to ask the citizens of Lawrence County and everybody to kind of be patient with us. We're going to do the best we can to get this going and still be able to provide things for you, for the citizens of Lawrence County. Any questions?
So the only question I have is, since it's a 50-50 grant, how much of that's going to be in kind, or is there any in kind on this?
Yes, sir. Public Works will be doing 50% of ours. Our $100,000 is in kind.
So $50,000 worth is in kind, right?
Yes, sir.
That's good.
So, but I'd just really like to thank Jerry and Tina and Joe Baxter and Chris for helping me out on this. It's new to all of us, and we have worked really hard to finally get this approved and going, and I just want to tell them that I appreciate everything they've done.
I
Okay?
had one question about the food booths.
Yes, sir.
Does the city of Lawrenceburg own all the food booths, or I mean, a Rotary Club, or what's the deal on that? Because a lot of the same folks that run their own particular booth think they own that booth. 'Cause, I mean, they.
Chris, you want to address that?
The lease indicates that all buildings are owned by the city of Lawrenceburg. They may not have always been used that way, but the lease indicates that they are our property.
Have we done upgrades on booths before, our people? Or?
I'm not sure in the past whether we have performed the upgrades to those or not. I
Maintenance
know
issues. they
we
take
do the
care of.
maintenance.
They do all.
I know some of the other civic clubs have done upgrades to the buildings that they're
Yeah.
usually out of.
Okay.
No more questions. I would briefly like Frank, Assistant Director, to come up and kind of touch on the activities that are going on right now, if y'all don't mind. Thank you.
Morning. I'll just touch on a few things we've got going on. I guess the main thing that I really want to talk about was youth basketball. I know the past few years that youth basketball league hasn't made, so we're trying to bring that back. We're really trying to push that hard this year. So if y'all can help me out, get the word out. We've had a lot of positive feedback about doing sign-ups. I think everybody's interested in having youth league back. They're sentimental about it like I am because I played in it as well. So everybody wants to play during the week, and I think it's going to come back together. So if y'all can help me get that word out about youth league, it's ages 6 to 12. We're doing sign-ups November 1st through the 30th. So we've also got women's volleyball that's fixing to start up Monday. We ended up with 12 teams in that, which is great. So that's more than we had last year. So we're really proud of that. We've got a 3-on-3 basketball league that's also new this year. We had 8 teams in it, and everybody seems to really enjoy it. We play it outside. If you drive by on a Tuesday or Thursday night on the outdoor courts, there's tons of cars out there. So we're having a lot of fun. But that's just yes, sir. And Roger Kent.
It's no blood, no foul.
Yeah, but we're having a lot of fun. So that's about all I have. So.
On the building, I talked to Matt Murray yesterday. He said there's a lot of leakage going on in the gym.
The gym.
Just prep back for this right here.
Yeah, there's the front gym and the back gym. Excuse me. They both leak pretty bad when it pours down rain. The floor is slick, and there really hasn't been any improvements done to that floor since it was poured in the 70s. So
It's got the rubber coating.
yeah, it's like a poured in place rubber floor. So I've called, and we're trying to get some ideas on what it would cost to actually repair that. I really don't know. I have no idea. I did just order some new rims for the goals this morning, so we're trying to get the league back going and get it where it needs to be. So, thank y'all.
You know how to have a good league?
Sorry.
You know how to have a good league?
How's that?
You've got to have good officials.
That's right, and that's one thing we're really going to try.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
That, when this league died out, we had kids calling, and I'll give you an example. I was coaching a team back then, and right before I retired from coaching, and one of the referees was calling the game, and I'm not going to tell you who it was, but one of my players was dribbling down the court, and one of their players knocked him out of bounds. I mean, just knocked him out of bounds. And it happened right in front of me. And I said, called the referee's name, and I said, getting pretty rough out there, isn't it? And he said, yeah, it is. And that was it.
But you're right.
You've got to have people that can control the game, and if you run a better league than the other leagues do, then you'll have people come to you.
Yes, our referees are the make or break of the league.
They are. They sure are.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Thank you for that. All right, any other business, Chris?
That's all I have.
Okay. We'll let the minutes reflect that we do have Air US financials for August 2017 on file at City Hall. There's no old business in front of the council this morning, so we'll move into new and legal business. Mr. Betts, I'll give the table to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1213, an ordinance to amend ordinance 1090 entitled Personnel Rules and Regulations for the City of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, Title 4, Chapter 2, Section Roman numeral V, Benefits, B, Holidays of the Lawrenceburg Municipal Code. This is to clarify some language about holiday pay if you're on leave. It's for second and final reading today.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion to approve. Second. Any discussion on ordinance number 1213? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of approving the ordinance number 1213, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Ordinance number 1213 is approved.
Ordinance 1214, an ordinance to amend ordinance 1207 entitled Budget Appropriations of Revenue and Expenditures for the 17-18 fiscal year for the City of Lawrenceburg, the Police Department. This does not include funds in the amount of $26,500 for the seizure, from the sale of seizure vehicles, and that's to amend the budget to reflect that. It's for first reading.
Okay. I got a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on ordinance number 1214? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1214, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And ordinance number 1214 moves to second reading.
Ordinance 1215, an ordinance to amend ordinance 1207 entitled Budget Appropriations of Revenue and Expenditures for the 17-18 fiscal year. This is to include Safe Routes to School grant in the amount of $240,000 in the budget. And that's for first reading today.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
I got a motion to
Second.
approve and a second. Any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1215, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed by like sign, and that ordinance moves to second reading.
Ordinance 1216, an ordinance to amend ordinance 1207 entitled Budget Appropriations of Revenues and Expenditures for the 17-18 fiscal year. This is to include funds in the amount of $392.04 for reimbursement of out-of-town expenses, and that's for first reading.
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Motion
on
to
this
approve.
ordinance? I got a motion to
Second.
approve and a second. Any discussion on this? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1216, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And ordinance number 1216 moves to second reading.
Ordinance 1217, an ordinance to amend ordinance 789 entitled the zoning ordinance of the City of Lawrenceburg. The Lawrenceburg Municipal Code, Title 14, Zoning and Land Use Control, Chapter 2, to be governed by the zoning ordinance published as Appendix 1, Volume 2 of the Lawrenceburg Municipal Code, Article 4, Supplemental Provisions, Section 4.130, minimum design standards for transmission and communication towers and stations. Item B, strike all wording except the last sentence, and item C, remove the wording E 1991, add wording to item G. Gentlemen, there's a typo in your document. If you'll look at item G at the very end of the first page, it says is designed to all entirely within the tower property. It should say fall instead of all. Ordinance 1217, as reflected with that correction, is here for first reading today.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? on
Motion to
ordinance
approve.
1217, I got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, seeing no discussion on ordinance number 1217, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1217, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordinance number 1217 moves to second reading.
Ordinance 1218, an ordinance to amend ordinance 1207 entitled the Budget Appropriations of Revenue and Expenditures for the 17-18 fiscal year for the City of Lawrenceburg. The budget amendment is to include $50,000 for the theater grant, which was not in the budget document. That's here for first reading today.
I got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on ordinance number 1218? Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of ordinance number 1218, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And ordinance number 1218 moves to second reading.
Next, a resolution of the City of Lawrenceburg to reappoint John Beasley as Lawrenceburg's representative on the Babe Ruth Board. Ask for your consideration.
I got a motion to approve. And a second. Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, if you're in favor of this resolution, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that resolution is approved.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to enter into an extension of the interlocal agreement for joint and cooperative operation and maintenance of a centralized emergency dispatch center. And that's for your consideration today.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure on this resolution?
Motion to
I got
approve.
a motion to approve.
Second it.
And a second. We'll bring this to discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to, does this have a, let's see, does this have a time frame in here where, how long this, extension of the interlocal agreement is for? Where does it say that?
To October this year, October 2018.
Expires October 16th, 2018.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to amend that to have that extension only to last for 4 months at the present time, which would be February the 16th.
Gentlemen, I have a motion to amend. Is there any other
second.
amendments? I got a second to amend. We have any discussion on the amendment?
Now, my understanding is because this is an interlocal agreement, that this will have to go back to the county and they'll have to approve our amended resolution. Is that correct? Okay.
So, I don't know what February the 16th buys us. I don't know what we're trying to achieve by the February 16th date, other than, because I think we're going to have to,
Mayor, we're willing to readdress it in February if indeed that's not enough time to make the actions work to figure out what we're going to do on this interlocal agreement. But if it requires more time, we'll readdress it at that time and extend it again.
And I think the 911 board has put a funding plan in place that will start January 16th. They've sent a letter to all entities that require entities other than the two that have been paying for 20 years to participate in a funding plan. And I think that the date that the 911 board is set for that is January 16th. And so I think that's the reason today to extend this to February 16th for a month. My understanding, I think there's some things going on to try to get some funding in place. I think it's, I'm going to just say from conversation, I think it's the pleasure of this board that all entities involved with centralized dispatch have some skin in the game when it comes to paying for this. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
I've heard a lot of, and I just want to make clear the discussions I've had to this board. Seems that Etheridge, Loretta, and St. Joseph are the entities that's trying to be added to this agreement. The problem is that there is no mechanism today, right now today, that allows them to spend money. Just like us, we have to be allowed to spend money by some mechanism, and that is our budget typically. And so just to walk up and ask them for $40,000 is not an easy thing to do. In comparison, it'd be like asking our board for $400,000 in comparison. And so it would be something that we would have to work on for a while. But I guess what I wanted to make clear is that I've seen a lot of different emails that go out, that have went out, and some of the conversation has went on. To my recollection, none of those entities, neither the Etheridge mayor, nor the Loretta mayor, nor the St. Joe mayor has said they will not pay.
That's
so
right.
They do feel like they need to pay something, but when you walk up and ask somebody to pay $40,000, it's tough. And so that's what we're trying to fix. You know, I think a more fair funding mechanism is a fee-based per household, and so I do feel like the city of Lawrenceburg has been unduly burdened with this particular interlocal agreement for how many ever years it's been in effect. I'm not in favor of signing an interlocal that looks like this for the future. So, but I just wanted this board to know that we've had a lot of conversation about how to make this funding work and how to make it fair, and never has any of the other mayors said we're not going to pay or we're not. And so you can understand how some feelings got hurt when certain activities take place that people in authority have spoken those types of words, and it really is detrimental to relationships. And we've really spent a long time developing relationships with our other cities inside this county, and it's not something that I'm willing to tear down overnight. And so we got to work together in getting a solution for this. We have committed to going to Barry Doss, our state representative. He has agreed to take a private act for Lawrence County to the legislature this year in hopes to putting a funding mechanism in place, not just for Lawrenceburg, but for Lawrence County as a whole. And then the interlocal wouldn't even be needed at all. It would just be a county-funded project, which we would just be a part of that. We would act as Lawrence County citizens here in Lawrenceburg, so which is the way it should function. So I appreciate the extension here. Personally, I don't think it's enough time because the legislative process in Tennessee takes longer than that. And if it does get approved, it'll be a July 1 date before it will even be active. And then if you're going to do funding mechanisms like that, it's going to take a billing cycle for that to take place. And then, so it's, you know, it's several months down the road. The year date, we were at a deadline, so we went ahead and signed the year, but we'll go back and amend this to February the 16th if that's what pleases the board. So.
Let me say, I'm a representative on the 911 board along with Fire Chief Jay Moore, Police Chief Terry Beecham. We've been appointed to serve on that board. And I agree, it can be a burden when someone comes and asks for multiple amounts of money. In that, I think the 911 board has attempted, and I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. I think we've attempted to be a good neighbor to these entities. Year one and I don't have the funding plan in front of me. Chief, you may be able to help me with numbers, but you're talking $4,000 coming from one of these small cities. You're not talking 40. Now, ultimately, the funding plan's got to get there, but it's a 3 or 4 year process that we've laid out for them to get to that funding plan. And so we're not asking them for $40,000 on January 16th. We are asking for $4,000 or $5,000, something. It's in that ballpark that we're asking those entities. It may be as high as $8,000 for one of them. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but again, the 911 board is attempted to be a good neighbor also, but bottom line, they can't operate under their current funding plan. They've tried to. We have obviously made some cuts on insurance and done some things to try to be frugal on that end. Obviously, my greatest representation is the city of Lawrenceburg and looking out for our well-being. But I do think attempts have been made across the board from the board aspect to do some things different, to keep some folks informed. And it's not a huge hit the first year. It is a hit. It's not a $40,000 hit the first year. So again, I hope by January 16th, February 16th, we all come to the table and continue to work on this process. So.
Can I ask Chad a question?
Yes, sir.
This new formula that Johnny has developed, when was that first brought to the board and to the cities of Lawrence County?
Yeah.
Can you recall?
Jay's the one that actually presented that. I know a year ago all entities were notified of the current interlocal agreement expiring. I'm gonna say within the last 7 to 8 months is when funding plans have started being presented. So
it hadn't been just overnight.
Well, but I'll say this: even in 7 and 8 months, sometimes it's hard to get together your funding. And that's the reason the 911 board extended it to January again. And again, you know, we understand that there's some things behind the scenes taking place, that we're trying to get some funding in place. But we also know that that may never happen as well. And so for the 911 board to continue to operate and dispatch continue to go on, they feel like that board has to take some steps to ensure that, you know, the longevity that they can exist. So.
Well, the other issue though for me is this, and I think it is for the other mayors too. I don't want to speak for them, but it's conversations I've had frankly with them. Is that the current state law that creates the 911 entity does not allow for specific representation of those entities. Now, we happen to have a good relationship with the county, and they have allowed you to be on the board. But, you know, the state law says the county executive will appoint those positions.
That's correct.
And it's set up as a county entity. So here we're going to be asking these other entities to contribute with no representation on the board, or they just have to be at the mercy of the county executive at the time to get some representation on the board. So
And the 911 board is completely in favor of those entities having representation.
I agree, but you know, you can't control who your next county executive is going to be. So, and so I understand that argument. And actually, the city of Lawrenceburg has that same argument. You know, and the next county executive could come in and not have a good relationship with this board and just appoint whoever they may at will. So.
And we're $400,000 with no representation.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, that's it's not issues. If everything could be solved on a local level, I think we'd already had it resolved. But by nature, the law that created the entity of 911 is a state law, and there's state rules to go by. And so, if we want to incorporate these other entities, we're going to have to somehow ensure them that they have representation. And the only way to do that is through the legislative process.
And again, you know, and it's probably apples and oranges to most of us in this room. There's a difference between 911 and centralized dispatch. If today no funding plan takes place, citizens of this community can still call 911. The phone will be answered over there. The problem comes now to dispatch for our fire, for our police, for the folks in the county, ambulance, county fire, those things. When our policeman, Chief Goolsby picks up the radio and says, "Dispatch, I need help," there's nobody to answer it if you don't have centralized dispatch. And that's what we're paying for, is for someone to run all those checks, to, keep the CAD system up, to make sure that we're all safe, and to dispatch out calls for us. And so, there's a major difference there, and again, all those things are probably apple and oranges to most folks. They know when they call 911, they get an ambulance, fire, or police. And that's the best system. That's what I'd like to see, we keep in this community.
I think I agree with that, and I think all the other entities agree with that too. And they don't disagree that they do get those services. And but it's just, if we can make it right going forward for the next 20 years or whatever it is, and let's spend the time and effort to do that.
That's a question.
Sure.
You said Representative Dawes is going to take it to the state in January, I believe. Is that going to be similar to what used to be on landlines, where each household, you mentioned every household would pay? Is that going to be similar to where they've raised the rate from cell phone rates to what they were, or since people have done away with their landlines? Because it used to be $1.50 on landlines, now it's 75 cents or whatever, 90 cents.
And the state controls all that, and again, you've got cell phone companies up there lobbying and all those things. I don't know that you're going to see a hike on cell phone tariff for quite a while. You may. I'd be shocked at that.
That would be the most fair way, though.
No, there's one other fair way.
I think what I've been told, that Representative Dawes is going to try to get it through, that each citizen of Lawrence County would pay $4 per month, and it would be added to their electric bill. That's what I've been told. And then that $4 would go to 911.
I don't think that, I think if that version goes through, it won't be $4. I think that number's gonna be way lower than that. I think that,
Well,
because there's a corporate entity in there, and then there's a residential entity in there. So, I think you're probably looking at maybe $2 per residence.
that'd be
And I think
better.
that's very good number to have 911 at your fingertips,
Sure it is.
to dial the number. So the phone tariff, though, what you're talking about, and I won't belabor the issue, but the phone tariff that you're talking about goes to fund 911. It doesn't go to fund dispatch.
Okay.
So 911 has expenses of its own. It has equipment, it has facilities, it has phone lines, it has everything that it has to pay for on a month-to-month basis.
And
so
all that's paid for on the 911 tariff.
that's
What
it.
we
isn't
pay
it-
for is dispatch
We
services.
pay for people, and
Isn't it $1.16 now for landline or cell phone?
I think I don't
Is that
know.
right?
Yeah, I think it went solid across the board, $1.16.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's not an easy, it's not. an
Mayor, I'm
easy
going to
task
make
to
one
take.
more point, as I think it needs to be made. Our mayor has not just started working on this 911 when the interlocal agreement was coming to expire. Since I've been on this board, he has been very involved in trying to get a 911 system that all the communities and municipalities can live with. He's been the mediator between all the city mayors. He's done a wonderful job trying to coordinate something that we can all accept and work with, and he's got 2 or 3 options in his head. We're very fortunate to have him, and the other mayors have expressed to me that they appreciate all that he does in conjunction with this 911 situation. So I want to commend you, Mayor, and appreciate all that you've done for a long time, not just the last 6 months, but for a long time on working on this issue, and we'll get it resolved. And he is right. If you could handle things locally, he'd already have this done. Thank you.
We hope. So, all right, any other comments on this resolution? Gentlemen, that's good comments. We appreciate the frankness of your comments. If there are no other comments and you're in favor of this resolution.
Mayor, it needs to be the amendment
The
first.
amendment, I'm sorry, we're voting on the amendment to amend it to February 16th, 2018. If there's any other discussion on the amendment itself, I'm sorry I let the conversation drag out of the confines of the amendment a minute ago, but if there's no other conversation on the amendment, if you're in favor of it, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? So the amendment stands at February 16th, 2018. Now the question at hand is the resolution itself as amended. Is there any discussion on the resolution?
Motion to approve.
I got a motion to approve as amended,
Second.
and I got a second. Any discussion? So seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of the resolution as amended, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that resolution is approved.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to authorize the Lawrenceburg Fire Department to request bids for firefighter turnout gear. That's for your consideration.
Motion to
I
approve.
got a motion to approve. And a second. Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, if you're in favor of this resolution, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that resolution is approved.
Next, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to approve the purchase of a 2014 Chevrolet Tahoe from Missouri State Highway Patrol for use by the Lawrenceburg Police Department. Purchase price $18,500 to be paid from the drug fund. And that's for your consideration.
Motion to
I got a
approve.
motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? No discussion. If you're in favor of this resolution, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that resolution is approved.
Next, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to approve the purchase of a 2003 Ford F-250 from Chris Barnett for the use of the Lawrenceburg Police Department. Purchase price $8,000 to be paid for from the drug fund.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve. Second. Second. Any discussion on this resolution? See no discussion. If you're in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that is approved.
Next resolution, the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to declare certain property in the police department as surplus to be disposed of in accordance with the City of Lawrenceburg's purchasing policy. And that's for your consideration.
I got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on this resolution? No discussion. Is this going to be, well, I have a question, is that going to be put on gov deals or is it going to go away?
Most of it will be on gov deals, some of it will be transferred to the department, some of it scrap.
All right, if you're in favor of this resolution, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that resolution is approved.
Next, gentlemen, is a resolution authorizing the delegation to the Industrial Development Board of the City of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, the authority to negotiate and accept from the issuer's lessee's payment in lieu of ad valorem taxes and related matters. This is for your consideration today.
Motion to
We've
approve.
got a motion to approve. Second. And a second. Any discussion? See no discussion. If you're in favor of this resolution, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that is approved.
Next, gentlemen, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Council of the City of Lawrenceburg to declare certain seized property in the police department as surplus to be sold at auction on the web. It's a 2005 Cougar camper, and that's for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second. Got a second. Is this the one that's already on there? That seems like I saw one.
I don't know what a cougar camper is.
He's going through. Hey, it's nice. You need to go look at it.
Where is it?
Online.
Oh, is that what's sitting down in front of the?
It looks brand new. Well, before we go any further, if there's no further discussion, if you're in favor, let me know and say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that is approved.
Mayor, I think that's all my business.
Is that all you got?
I think so.
All right, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And got a motion and a second. This meeting's
Second.
adjourned.